Good afternoon. Hello, everybody. My name is Carla Metzdorf, and I'll just be right with you. I am just checking something. So I'm going live in two places today. I am starting YouTube, and I'm going live here in Facebook. Okay, so Okay, so I am live in Facebook and in YouTube. There you go. So I do the live here or the other screen?
You do live there for YouTube. You'll see the chat here. And then for you're gonna
Sorry as I go through technical difficulties. Okay. So I just have my son next to me helping me do this as I go live. So I am, as I said, my name is Carla Metzdorf. I am an anxiety coach, and I'm also admin to the Facebook group Overcoming Anxiety for Stressed Out Moms Who've Had Enough. I am coming on today to talk to you about worry. Yeah, don't leave that on. My son is just helping me out because I've never streamed on two different platforms before. I can't have that running because it's a second behind me. So what I want to talk about is to worry not. In other words, it's said many times in the Bible that we should fear not. You got to take that off. It's behind. And there's a reason why we're being told to fear not. Okay, thank you. I'm just going to go with this. All right, thank you. So let's just jump right into this. Let's talk about worry. But first of all, before I get into this, because YouTube is new to me, let me just give you some background of who I am and why you should hit that subscribe button and tune into me. See, I am your ordinary mom, and for years, I had debilitating panic, anxiety. I had chronic insomnia and depression. It took a lot out of me. It turned my whole life upside down. I was barely functioning in life, barely coping as a mom, being that person that I wanted to be. So my life, I really had to find my way. I really did, and it wasn't easy to do. I had to find my way to overcome anxiety because I was on different medications and they were not working. Regardless of the medications I was on, I was still anxious. I was still not sleeping. I was still depressed. So what kind of life was that? So I found my way over everything. Like I had no more panic disorder. I have no more anxiety, no more depression. And I'm sleeping great compared to how I was. So when I finally overcame everything, I felt like I had the solution and I had to share it with everybody. So I got my certification in coaching, and I'm using my experience, my expertise to come to everybody. And I wanted to work with moms specifically because I know how hard it is to be a mom. It has got to be the hardest job in the world. And then to have anxiety on top of that's just, it's just too much. And, talking to so many moms, hearing moms say that they're going to be like this forever. They feel like they can never overcome it. They just really didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I couldn't take that. So I know better than that. I know that you can overcome this. And I made it my mission to help other moms to overcome anxiety by giving them more awareness as to what anxiety is and why they have it, and to really, giving a lot of information, a lot of great insight on how to really overcome this. Because it is possible. No one has to stay stuck with anxiety forever. I truly believe that. No one, this is not a life sentence. You do not have to stay this way. Not at all. So every Thursday at 3 p.m., I like to go live in my group and to bring that awareness and give that insight so that the moms can hear me talk and then take this information and implement it as they work to overcome anxiety. So, and what a better way to reach even more moms by going on YouTube. So I hope this is going to really work out today, being on both platforms. And remember to subscribe. Yes. I'm going to come on maybe even more than once a week to just give some like great tips about how to overcome anxiety. So without further ado, today, want to focus on worry. And you might say, isn't worrying and anxiety the same exact thing? Because there are some people who use it interchangeably. It's even used interchangeably in the Bible. But there is a difference. There is a slight difference, and I'm going to go through that. So what is worry? Okay. Worry is basically being overly concerned about something. That's my definition. And when I do these live trainings, I love to give definitions because definitions put you and I on the same page. I want you to understand exactly what it is that I'm talking about. I see that Lisa's on with me. Hi, Lisa. Thank you for coming on. And Sarah, thank you for coming on. I'm so happy that you're both here today. So worry. I want to start off saying, I think of things in a scale. All right. When something happens in your life, right, you start thinking about it, you make an interpretation, and you start having these feelings about it. And think of worry as the very beginning of the scale. And you go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 10 being like full-blown panic. So when something happens, okay, we start to be concerned about it, all right? So when it starts off slowly, we start being really concerned about it. And that concern, as we add more thoughts and more feeling to our concern, this is the birth of anxiety. Because as you add emotion, as you add fear, then it becomes anxiety. But we don't always start off with being full-blown anxious. Usually we start off being just a little stressed and then a little more stressed. And we're worrying, we're concerned. We might start not sleeping well. But then what happens is those events that have us concerned pass, but yet we're still focused on how we feel and those thoughts that are going through our head. And we stay in this cycle. And as we get more emotion and more negative thoughts and we focus on all that negativity, this is how we spiral and move up that scale to the point where we become panicked and we start having panic attacks. And some of us are lucky enough where we just like, we start experiencing panic attacks right away. Like that happened to me when I was 31 years old. I was diagnosed with cancer. And shortly thereafter, that was very stressful for sure. I had to have emergency surgery. And right after the surgery, I just started having full-blown panic attacks. I had stress. And was I worried? Well, yeah, of course. There was concern about my whole, how's the surgery going to go? Am I going to be okay with the surgery? I hope they get it all. There was worry there. But I thought, hey, once the surgery was over, I was going to be fine. I was just going to heal and get my life back. But that's not what happened. And I started having full-blown panic attacks. So what is the difference between worry and anxiety? Okay. Because they're both reactions. They're both reactions to the stress that we're having. It's just that worry, the difference is worry is more of just being a concern. And with worry, it's a little bit more specific. You kind of know what you're worried about. Whereas with anxiety, sometimes we feel these feelings of anxiety and we're like, I don't understand why. What's making me this way? I don't understand these feelings. Whereas worry, you're worrying. Anxiety, you're like, I don't understand this. And so worry is just a little bit more specific, because with worry, you still can think more with a rational mind, because you don't have that much emotion yet, where your mind is like, you're not thinking too much with an emotional mind. So with worry, you're still thinking somewhat rationally. So what you'll do is maybe that will take you to take some kind of action, some kind of affirmative, positive action. Now, with anxiety, you are so consumed, the emotion, the fear is so overwhelming, and your central nervous system is so triggered. You're focused on having these catastrophic, irrational, intrusive thoughts. Your symptoms could be very overwhelming. You're so focused on that you're making decisions and making choices with an irrational mind. And you're not so much taking positive affirmative action. When you feel anxiety, it's more like you're avoiding, you're resisting, you're avoiding, you're going a different way. So yeah, so with worry, even with worry, sometimes you will still take some kind of affirmative action. Worry too can be temporary, because when you worry, let's say a test, you're going to take a medical test, and you're before you go to the doctor, you're just all worried about it. I really hope this test comes out okay. I really hope so. And you get there, you get the test done, and once the test is done, you're like, oh, thank God I took the test. And and maybe the results come in right away, and you worry, you're concerned about it. But once you take the test and get results, and you're like, oh, thank God it's done, and you could get past it, right? Anxiety is more of, okay, I took the test, I got the results back, but why am I still feeling this way? Why, it's like the event passes, but you're still so focused on how you feel, that fear and the feelings that you have. You can't seem to let go of that concern that you had, that worry you had. So it's exploding, it's escalating, and it affects other areas of your life. Is that making sense, ladies? Right? It makes it, you start feeling concerned. So that's how worry and anxiety, differ. With worry, usually you can still function. Like, to be worried about something, you still can usually function kind of well. You might have a little upset stomach, and you might be a little bit of a headache and thinking, oh, I really hope this works out fine. And you might not feel so well, and you might be pacing a little bit, but you're functioning, and you might get a little busy to distract yourself. But once the thing passes, this event or whatever, you'll feel fine. Anxiety, you're usually people with anxiety, especially as the higher on the scale you go with that anxiety, people who have anxiety and climb up that scale, the higher you go on that scale, people with anxiety usually do not function very well, if hardly at all. I know I wasn't functioning very well, hardly functioning at all with my I just want to see who else is on. Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Sarah. I'm going in between screens. I have 3 screens here trying to see who is on. But hi, and thank you for joining me. Thank you so much. Okay, let me go back to this screen. Hey, okay. So those are all the differences between like anxiety and worry. But we're going to focus just on worry, okay? Which is lower on that anxiety scale. But see, the thing is, if you could nip this in the bud, so to speak, be stressed out, have worry, and then like tell yourself, I'm worried here. What am I worried about? What is causing me to worry? Like if you could catch yourself worrying, okay, that would be very useful. So what I wanted to come on today and talk to you about are 3 steps that I personally took that got me over worry, like done with worry. I don't really worry so much. I'm going to tell you a story. So when I was working to overcome anxiety, I didn't have the internet like this. This was like way in the beginning of the 2000s. There was some internet out there, but I had no access to it. We had dial-up computer for the longest time. And it took me forever to really get all that in. Like I had to do a lot of research. I read a lot of books. And back then, most of the books that were out, like in the library about mental illness and all that, were like the old time books. There weren't a lot of, I read things that were like published in the 40s, the 50s, the 60s. So these things helped me to overcome anxiety, worry, depression. One of the books that I read, and I want to show you, by Dale Carnegie, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. This was a great book. And I want to reference it. This book was published like, I think in the 40s or 50s, or is the copyright. Old time, but I mean, everything he says is spot on how to really overcome anxiety. 44. So How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, Dale Carnegie. Read this book and it really helped me. So I recommend it to you, but I didn't learn everything from there. So but I took everything. He had like 10 steps. I have 3, and I'm going to share it with you right now. And hopefully after you hear these 3 steps, you will understand not to worry anymore. Okay. Reading this book, I believe the story is in this book, the Dale Carnegie book. I read a story he tells of a story about a man who claims who never worried. Yeah, he just never worried, and he couldn't understand why people worry. So I was thinking like, wow, is that possible? Is it possible that a human being cannot worry, right? Because doesn't like every human being on the planet worry? I mean, I thought worry was just a part of life, right? I mean, is that really possible? So I told myself someday I want to be like this man. I want to like never worry. And I kind of like laughed it off, because did I really believe that would ever happen? Like, no. But it didn't mean I didn't try. So I read that book, and what I did was, after all my research and everything I've been through, I found out the best. I'm finding myself today, present here in 2024, August. I don't really worry a lot. Like these 3 steps that I'm about to share with you, I follow these 3 steps. I gotta say, I don't really find myself worried a lot. And I mean, I don't want to promise you that you'll definitely stop worrying, but I really implemented these steps, ladies. And if you do that, I mean, I'm kind of confident that you can stop worrying. And if you stop worrying so much, guess what else will go away? You won't climb up that anxiety scale. You know, if you could just nip it in the bud. So let's get down to this. What were my 3 steps? The first step for me in everything I do is awareness. Awareness, because you cannot change. You cannot take action to things that you don't acknowledge, right? So what I became aware of, what I learned was the reason why I was worrying so much is because I wasn't trusting. I wasn't understanding that there was a presence inside of me that was bigger than I was. Does that make sense, ladies? So I read the Bible, made my own interpretations reading this Bible, and I really became aware of the presence of God within me. And the more I focused on that presence, I started to not worry so much. Psalm 46 says, "Be still and know I am God." That's the first step. We need to be still. Still your mind, still those thoughts. Just be, and how do you do that? By being present. Be present, be still, be in the present time. Know that there is a force in you that's greater than anything outside of you. That was my first step. That's what helped me overcome worry. Number 2, step 2, pray. To pray. Not to pray and worry, but to pray and have faith. So Philippians 4:6-7, do not be anxious. And some versions of the Bible, do not worry, because the Bible uses them like they're the same thing, because they all run the same scale. It's just the more emotion you put, the more you're going to climb up that scale, right? Do not worry. Do not be anxious about anything. Not some things, but anything. But in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your request to God. Yeah. And then the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, is going to guard your heart and mind in Christ Jesus. Yeah. I don't know about you, but I wanted to feel that. You mean all I have to do is pray? Pray? But isn't that what I was doing? Are you kidding me? I was on my knees begging God. God, I'm in pain. I got this anxiety. Don't you see that? Don't you know that? When is it going to go away? I can't do this anymore. How many of you are praying and praying? And maybe you're not hearing anything, or you think you're not hearing anything. So Psalm 55 says to cast your cares on the Lord, and he will sustain you. He will never let the righteous be shaken. So we are to pray and cast our care upon him. We are to pray and let him know what's going on. I mean, he knows for sure, but he wants to hear from you. He wants to hear you say, God, I need you. I can't do this by myself. But see, where we go wrong is we're praying and then we're not doing number 3. Number 3 in my plan to not worry, first you have awareness, you pray, But then number 3 is very important. You need to trust. Trust that God is hearing your prayers. He's in control. He's in absolute control. And he's going to supply you with all your needs, as long as, of course, it's according to his will. Proverbs 3:56. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and learn not on your own understanding. In all your ways, not some of them, all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. It gets no more clearer than that. We are to trust in him. Are we trusting? Are we praying and just continuing to be worried? Or are we praying and saying, thank you that I'm praying, you're listening to my prayers, and thank you that you're going to answer that prayer. I know you will. In the Bible, and no, I don't know which passage, we know of the story of the woman who touched Jesus's robe, right? If only I touch him, his robe, just touch the hem of his robe, I'm going to be healed. And all the power came out of Jesus, and he turned around and said, who touched me? And she admitted, it was I. And he said, well, according to your faith, you are healed. Are we having faith that we're being healed because we're praying and we're asking for healing, for deliverance? What if she didn't believe? What if she touched it and said, it's not going to work? Would she have been healed? Maybe not. So when you're praying, are you trusting in what you say, what you're asking? If you're asking for healing, are you trusting, are you believing that the healing is what you're going to get? If you're still living in great anxiety, great worry, anxiety, are you showing that faith? Be healed according to your faith, according to it. I got really good at trusting that as I pray and as I'm grateful, I'm going to see deliverance. So I flipped that switch. And instead of being like, God, when are you going to heal me? Enough already. I can only take so much. It was like, God, I know you're working on me. I know you got me in the palm of your hands. Thank you. Thank you that I can go out into this day with great courage, knowing you're with me. You go out before me and you pave the way. You direct all my steps, and you, Lord, are my help always. The Psalm 18. The Lord is with me. I will not be afraid. What can mere mortals do to me? Why are we not trusting? Why do we remain so afraid? I read somewhere, and I really don't remember again where. I've read so many books, and I didn't know I was going to go on and do all, and help so many people and be on with people all the time. So I read somewhere that if you only knew who was beside you, you would just go through life unafraid always. Do you know who's beside you? Do you know? Because if you do, then why are you so worried? Let's nip that worry in the bud. Be aware that you're worrying. What am I worrying about? What am I worrying about? Get really present where God is. pray. But when you pray, make sure you understand that you can't pray and then be like, oh, I wonder if he's going to deliver me. Oh, when's he going to do this? Think of the woman in the Bible who touched his cloak, his clothing, his tunic, whatever you want to call it. Think about her. What if she said, no, I really don't know. I really don't know if you can do this, Lord. If you really believe that God's going to deliver you, what are you so anxious about? Trust. Don't trust in man. Yeah, go to the doctor. I'm not saying don't listen to your doctor. Don't listen to your therapist, your coach. I'm not saying don't listen. Okay? But God brings things into your life. There's a reason why certain people come into your life. There's a reason why that you were watching TV and in that show, you heard the characters having that conversation. There's a reason why a certain song comes on the radio. Do you believe that? Because I don't believe in coincidences. Okay? There's a reason. There's a reason. So trust. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. When are you going to overcome anxiety? Just as soon as, it's always you versus you. There's no, I can't answer that. But the way to do it is to nip it in the bud by understanding I'm starting to worry. I'm having a concern here. And this worry is going to turn into anxiety if I don't nip it in the bud, if I continue on with my thoughts, being negative, focused on problems, not on the solution. Because when we worry, we still have, like I said, some rationality. When we worry, we're not so focused on our problems because we can say, oh, I'm still functioning and I can still think straight. So what kind of action can I take? But when we're anxious, we're more focused on our problems and not a solution. Whereas the worry, you can maybe come, it forces you to think more of a solution. So, ladies, nip this in the bud. Have that awareness of what am I so worried about? What do I think is going to happen? Pray about it. Trust. Do those 3 steps. The peace that surpasses all understanding is going to guard your heart and mind in Christ Jesus once you take these steps. It does work. You will overcome. You will stop worrying. And if you stop worrying, you will not be climbing up that scale. Because you will be problem solving, taking control of the things that you can and accepting the things that you can't, so that you don't start, all the what ifing. What if this and what if that, and living in an uncertainty. Is all this making sense? I really hope so. If anybody has any comments, any questions, because that is basically, for me, that's worry in a nutshell. It's just having that concern and facing that concern, casting your care onto the Lord, and He will take it from you. He will take it from you. But do you believe that? Because I know it's possible. I know it's true. Because when I read that story about the man who never worries, and I thought, is that even possible? And I thought maybe that could be me someday. Well, I don't know if I'm on his level. I don't know if I'm 100% there. But let me tell you, compared to who I was, I hardly find myself worrying. I really, because I just tell myself, God's in control. He's in control. And not only that, what is worry going to do? Is it going to change the situation? I had great health anxiety for many years, very bad health anxiety. And I worried about my health a lot. And did focusing on my symptoms and worry about the symptoms change anything? Did it make me better? Did it make like me not have a sickness, illness, or disease? If anything, it was doing the opposite. Worry doesn't add anything to your life. If anything, it steals your joy. That's where it all starts. It takes life, not adding to it. So why do it? Especially if you know who's walking beside you. Especially if you know that there is a Father in heaven who loves you, who has you in the palm of his hand, who wants you to go to him, tell him how you feel, and then to trust that he's going to give it to you. Now, sometimes we pray for things that are not meant for us, but that's always because God's got better. Do you believe in that? So just because you aren't being delivered doesn't mean he doesn't want you to be. Of course he wants you to be. God doesn't want any of us to live this way. Of course not. But what is the lesson? When we move up that scale and we start feeling anxious, we're delivered in God's timing, not our own. Okay? There's always a reason why we stay the way we are. And until we learn that lesson, we might stay there for a little bit. Keep trusting. Don't stop believing. If there are no comments or if there's no questions, I am going to go back and forth between screen and see, does anybody have a comment? Does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask? I'm just reading. So Jennifer, I hear you saying I'm practically begging to take this horrible anxiety. The thing is, I understand that because I definitely begged God. I was like, come on, God, please, I can't live like this, and I begged him to take my life. I begged God to take my life. I didn't want to live the way I was, but I gave him a choice, either take me or help me through this. Show me that there is a way through this because I'm not seeing it. What do I do? And I told him, I can't do it without you. I need that guidance from you. And that changed everything. Everything. The moment I put myself in God's hands, that was me casting my care. That was me casting my care. I tried it, doing it on my own. Nah. That was me casting care. I prayed about it. I casted my care, and now I had to trust. Once I started trusting and I started seeing and trusting more and seeing and getting closer to God, and like I said, I'm not 100% there, but I just don't worry about things like I used to. I know things are going to happen. But if it happens, it happens. What am I going to do? I'll adjust. I'll accept it for what it is. I'll adjust and I will survive it because I already survived everything else in my life. Ladies, you are all surviving. Every single one of you are surviving. How many of you are saying over and over, how am I going to go another day? Well, you can and you will because you already have. Until the day you die, you survive. And you're going to keep surviving until you die. Stop saying, how am I going to survive this? How am I going to survive? Like, just live your life. Live your life like today is the first day of your life and the last day of your life. No reason to worry or have any fear. Know who's walking beside you. I hope you enjoyed this live training, and I hope you understand a little bit more about worry and how it differs from anxiety and what you need to do, those 3 steps to overcome worry. And if you want more, there's the book again, How to Stop Worrying by Dale Carnegie. I didn't form the 3 steps from this. I formed it from reading the Bible, but there's a lot of good stuff in here. So it's just, I like to give references, and let you know, show you some of the things that I use to overcome anxiety. But I just basically, put it all together. I implemented. If you don't implement the information you receive, you're not going to get the results. Be well. I wish you all the best. Any further comments, anything that you wanna, you have any questions, anything you want to know about. I'm just going back and forth between screens and seeing if anybody has come on that needs to say anything, but I don't see anything. Okay. If there's no questions, I'm going to go. But if you have questions later on, put it in the chat, send me comments. I will always answer back. And I'm excited to have this on YouTube. So if you're, watching the replay, thank you. Hit subscribe, and let me know, what you think. Are you a worrier? What are you going to start doing now to stop worrying? Be well. See you next time. Take care. Bye. Bye.